Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of round 8 of Norway Chess 2018. Things were hotting up very nicely. Before the round we had 3 players on +1, Magnus Carlsen, Wesley So and Vishwanathan Anand, followed by 4 players on 50%, so only half a point behind. This is what happened in round 8. Aragnan had an extra free day because of Ding's accident, operation and withdrawal. Hikaru Nakamura got his first win of the tournament after 6 draws and he beat Sergei Karyakin. Wesley So and Vasyl Lagrave played a draw, so did Magnus Carlsen and Shahryar Mamedyarov. That leaves the game between Vishwanathan Anand and Fabiano Caruana. Let's have a look at that game. This is the great former world champion from India, Vishwanathan Anand. And in this picture you see both players talking to each other after the game. Let's see what happened in the game. Anand was white, Caruana was black. It's the 6th of June 2018. E4 from Anand and E5 from his opponent. Knight f3, knight f6. Caruana plays the Petrov defense, the Russian defense, his main weapon these days against e4. Knight takes e5, d6, kicking the knight back and taking the pawn back on e4. Anand decides to kick that knight. Knight went back. We have a completely symmetrical position now, and it stays like that for a while, as we'll see. d4, d5, getting the pawns in the center of the board. Bishop d3, bishop d6. Anand castled and Caruana castled. Both players are playing like two children, copying each other's moves. Here Anand played bishop g5 and no, Caruana did not play bishop g4. The opening, which was a Russian defense, has now transposed to an exchange French. This position can occur from the exchange French variation. Caruana kicked the bishop, went to h4 and knight c6, and Caruana called this in the press conference after the game positionally risky in combination with his next moves, knight e4 and then f5 later. Anand played c3. Caruana kicked the bishop, he wants to move his knight and that knight was pinned. Bishop g3 and now knight e4. Caruana said that he had analyzed this a little bit, but that he did not remember anything. It must have been a long time ago that he looked at his position. Anand took the bishop, and the most logical way to recapture is with the queen. Caruana said after the game, "This is not what I wanted." Caruana went for a sharp, but as he admitted himself, quite a dubious line. He took with the pawn. He said this is very anti-positional, but concretely it's quite dangerous for white. At least I'm putting pressure on him this way. Very brave. In its position, Anand played knight fd2, while queen b3 was expected by Caruana, and Caruana said this is very critical, and I was surprised Anand did not go for this. Caruana suggested that Anand may have been worried that there had been a lot of preparation behind this move. They looked at this move in the analysis, and then bishop e6 was the best reply according to Caruana. White can then take on b7, knight a5 hitting the queen, and then queen to a6. You can also play bishop c8, kicking the queen, queen b5, and here Caruana gave a wonderful variation. Very quickly he said rook b8, and then queen takes d5, and then knight f6, and this is absolutely wonderful because this traps white's queen. Look at the queen, trapped in the middle of the board. It has no squares and will get lost. But Caruana had mixed up some variations because after queen b5, rook b8 is a blunder because white can simply take that rook. So he mixed up a variation, but that queen trap was so beautiful that I had to show you. Back to the variation, we played queen b3, bishop e6, we took the pawn, knight a5, and queen a6. And then instead of bishop c8 as we just saw, there is rook b8. And Caruana said that he remembered that this was not very good for black, but at least it's a bit of a mess, he said. He was in a real fighting spirit, Fabiano Caruana was. As said, Anand did not go for the queen b3 variation, he played knight fd2. f5 from Caruana, knight a3 developing that knight, bishop e6 developing the bishop, knight c2, the knight was swapped on d2, and f4. Caruana said, now it's very comfortable and I no longer risk anything, even though he has that double pawn in the center. Rook ae1, queen f6, f3, and rook f7. Caruana said he could have played rook ae8 here, of course, instead. And it was Shakhyar Mamedyarov who was interviewed at around this time after his draw with Carlsen. And Mamedyarov preferred white here. Caruana said that is crazy. And he said, if I want to equalize, I play rook ae8 and I play the bishop to d7 or f7 and I trade all the rooks on the e-file and there's nothing to worry about. So Caruana did not think that white had a better position at all. In the game he played rook f7, rook e2 and rook a f8. Caruana said the e-file does not give white anything and I was already playing for an advantage here. The plan is h5 and g4. Knight e1 from Anand, he wants to reroute the knight to d3. Knight e7 from Caruana, bishop c2 and a5. Bishop b3. Caruana said white does not have any active ideas, which makes his task unpleasant. Rook g7 and queen d3. Now queen b5 is a threat, and that explains Caruana's next move, bishop d7, to control the b5 square. a4 from Anand. Caruana said he must have been worried about bishop b5. King h8, instructive move. Caruana said, I'm just getting out of the way. That rook might one day want to come to g8. Queen d2, h5 as planned, knight d3 as planned, and knight f5. Caruana is going to win material, and he said, I'm not sure if it was good going for winning the exchange. I got a bit greedy. He's winning an exchange by force now. Anand took the pawn on d5, that's no longer protected by the knight. And now knight e3, and that is a forking rook and bishop. So you have to give the exchange with white. Anand took on e3 with the rook, f takes, queen takes, and bishop takes a4. Black has won material. Rook a1, white is going for the a5 pawn, which Caruana called a natural move. Rook e7, hitting the queen, queen back to d2, and bishop b5. Anand took that pawn on a5, bishop took on d3, queen takes back, and rook e1 check, king f2, and rook f e8. Here Anand played rook a8 and said afterwards that he thought that he should have played g3 and that would lead to a draw. And Caruana said with a smile in the interview after the game that he had really been hoping for g3 because then he would have played the very beautiful move. Look at this one. Queen f5. Putting his queen on priest there on f5. And of course, white cannot take it, because then there is rook e2, and that's checkmate. And if you don't fall for that and you play queen d2, then there is queen h3, and that also leads to checkmate. Queen f5, what a move. It could have come on the board because Anand didn't see it and wanted to play g3. But I said he played rook a8, queen f4 from Caruana, and was a pair of rooks swapped. And queen d1, which Caruana called a good move from Anand to stop the black queen invading on the queen side, taking pawns there or mating with queen and rook. Queen d1, good move. Now black takes a pawn on the other side of the board. Queen d2, queen h4 check, king f1, queen h1 check, that's the 40th move, a few checks to get to the time control. King f2, queen h4 check, king f1, and Caruana said we had made the time control and here I started to feel I had messed it up. He was not sure if he could win this position with an extra exchange. b6, saving the pawn, is the most natural move, but Caruana went for rook a8, bringing the rook into the attack over the a file. King e2, rook a1, king d3, and b5. Here is a computer move. Bishop c6 is the best move in this position, and that will lead to a draw. Caruana said that he had planned queen h1, but then king e4. And it turns out the king is quite safe there, even though Caruana found it hard to believe. But this indeed is an equal position. White will be able to hold the draw this way. Anand did not find those two computer moves, and after b5 he played c4. That pawn was taken, king takes, and queen f4, offering a queen trade. And Caruana was surprised that Anand did not swap the queens. This was the variation he showed: queen takes f4, g takes, bishop e6, king g7, king d5, king f6, and bishop h3. And Caruana said he wondered about his endgame, but after some analysis the conclusion was that black is also winning here. They looked at one other move after queen f4, they looked at queen b4, and Caruana said that it would also be tough to win this position for black. But Anand chose a third option. He played queen e2. And that was a mistake according to Caruana. He played queen c1 check, king b5, queen c8, and now the king is not safe, the white king. Here came the last mistake. Caruana said Anand should have played king b4 here, and he gave this variation: queen b8 check, then the queen can interpose, queen takes, king takes, and Caruana said this is still tough to win. But after queen c8 the king went to b6, and now black is easily winning. Queen b8 check was played by Caruana, king c6, and the last move of the game, rook c1 check. And Anand resigned. It is indeed completely over now. If you go to d7 with your king, then you lose your queen. After rook c7 check, if you go to e6, there is queen e8 check with a skewer. And if you go to d6, if you take the pawn on d6, then there is a discover check, rook c2 check. The queen checks the king, and the rook will take the queen. After rook c1 check, you cannot really go to d7 with your king. The only move is bishop c4, but then you're going to lose that bishop. After queen c8 check, there's another skewer. King can take the pawn, and then you lose that bishop. You still might want to hope for a perpetual check with queen e5 check, but Caruana had seen it all. He would have played king h7, queen e7 check, king g6, important move, queen e4 check, and now you go to h6, and there are no more relevant checks. So this is also hopeless for white. After rook c1 check, Vishwanathan Anand resigned and Fabiano Caruana said, "Today was a big win for me." And indeed it was. Beating Anand with the black pieces is no mean feat. And not only that, Caruana started the tournament really badly with a loss against Magnus Carlsen on the first day, but now he's in a joint lead, as we'll see from the standings. We have 4 leaders, Carlsen and the 3 American players, So, Nakamura and Caruana, all on +1. And then there are 2 players just half a point behind. They still have a chance, Anand and Aranyan. Mamedyarov also has 3.5, but he has played all his games. He will be free in the last round. And Karyakin is on -1 and Vashelagraf on -2. The last round will be played on Thursday the 7th of June. And like it wasn't enough for Caruana, he also is the only player who's in the lead who has the white pieces in the last round. We'll see Vashelagraf against Carlsen. Caruana will play against Wesley So. Karyakin will play Anand. And Aranyan will play Nakamura. It's going to be very interesting. And if more than one player ends at the top of the table, then it will be tie breaks on Friday. I will be here after the 9th round to tell you what happened. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Today I passed the 20,000 subscriber mark, so it's a nice day for me. I want to thank you for your support in getting me there. Please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.